What in the modern day is the greatest threat to democracy? It is oligarchy. Back in the 6th century BC, Plato recognized that the greatest threat to his idea of democracy was a few rich individuals taking over and an oligarchy forming, and that is what Britain is showing today. The Owen Paterson affair, egregious lobbying in Parliament without declaring it, is just the tip of this iceberg. This is not a rare case, it's not an exception, it is the rule. That's why Boris Johnson wanted to completely get rid of the disciplinary process and the standards committee, because they're all in the frame, particularly him. The leadership is important because the fish rots from the head down. And he's setting a standard which other MPs, particularly Conservative MPs, not always exclusively Conservative MPs, want to follow. In a way, you can blame Tony Blair for this. Tony Blair started up that tradition. You go into politics and then, like an American president, you make hundreds of millions. Just as bad, David Cameron. He leaves Parliament, gets all these jobs, he's working for a health company lobbying for them, but with this banker Greensill, he was paid £7 million to lobby government for them, texting his old pals in the Treasury and things like that. If you're Owen Paterson and you're only making £500,000, you feel rather shortchanged, don't you? I mean, you're just at the startup level of oligarchy. Oligarchy is the combination of money and power, of the state and money and power. This is a few individuals getting right under the table of the state and kind of taking over. And this value is at the heart of the Conservative Party project these days. You can see it in their donors. They have millions in donations, much more than the Labour Party, particularly from those over £100,000 who pay for these special dinners and get access to senior Conservative ministers. Now, why would you, as a businessman, would you want to have dinner with Rishi Sunak or with the housing minister? Well, we know what happened at one dinner with Robert Jenrick and Richard Desmond, property developer and former Express owner. He wanted to get his housing project passed. So business people are not stupid. They don't pay this money in the Conservative Party just for niche. They want them in power, and increasingly, we can see, they want favours. More than anything, the most disgusting bit, perhaps, of the pandemic was seeing, under emergency legislation, these kinds of people rushing towards the Conservative Party to get contracts. 15 billion or so of dodgy PPE contracts. I say dodgy because lots of them didn't come to fruition, were not delivered properly, and others were clearly done through this VIP back channel. This goes straight to the Owen Paterson affair, who was a consultant to a big company which got £500 million in contracts from the Conservatives under this emergency legislation which the government had enforced. He met with the then Lord Bethell, the minister in charge of procurement of the NHS. And we have tracked £3 billion of these contracts going towards Tory friends and donors. Why would you, or as a businessman or woman, bother setting up your company to compete with others? Why not get a friendly politician to help you out? That is oligarchy. As this goes on, there's a kind of cash carousel between a political party, almost like a one-party state, and those who don't donate to it, who then get the contracts, who then get increased profits and add more to the Conservative Party. And we have tracked this. And it is illegal to solicit honours, peerages in return for donations. But as Open Democracy have done the top £3 million plus donors, we've done the £100,000 donors, you are highly likely to get an honour or a peerage. In fact, 55% of those who donated more than 1.5 million get an honour or a peerage. This has now become a system, an unspoken system, which there is a law against, but it's so easy to breach. You just have to reverse the inference that this just happened. And it's the problem with the whole corruption mechanism around the contracts. Now, I'd be very careful to say, I am not alleging any of those companies of corruption, because they're offered these contracts. They don't know, they're just going to get VIP laned. The government is corrupt. The government is corrupt in terms of our public interest by awarding our money without proper scrutiny, without looking to see if there are conflicts of interest. And this kind of cycle of corruption begins like a laundromat, get faster and faster and faster and faster. And what it does is not only encourage the wrong people to get into politics, encourage the wrong kind of politics, because you're only looking after a narrow section of super rich elite. it also undermines the whole trust in the political system, in democracy, of the public. And this is a problem which affects all the parties. Going back to Blair's time, we had issues of donations given for honours, of Formula One guys maybe influencing policy for donations to the Labour Party. This is a problem with Parliament, a problem particularly when so many MPs see being MP is actually a second job. Their first job is to lobby. They come out of lobbying companies, they make their living. Even if you're SPAD, you work for a think tank. There is a political nexus which people want to move through and normalize by, and they don't see how far away that is, living in the Westminster bubble, from the ordinary lives of British people. So, what's the problem? Parliament. That Parliament is falling into the river. It's rat infested. It's a fake Gothic building built in the 19th century and doesn't reflect modern day life. No party is immune from this. And no party seems to be able to deal with Johnson, partly because of this constitutional issue. The constitutional issue is we have a system which relies on good chaps, but has no brakes or sanctions on bad chaps. So Priti Patel can be accused and found guilty of bullying the person who did that. They resigned. If Owen Paterson is found by the Standards Committee to have broken the rules, well, just get rid of that committee. Every time, there's no real constitutional break. There's no law. The Met, which is partly controlled by the Home Office, is reluctant to investigate. Police forces do have an element of political funding and control. And so no, it won't solve it just electing the Labour Party or a coalition, unless that is on a platform of root and branch reform. What all this has revealed is the system was broken already. It was a sick system in that it was just waiting for somebody to exploit these crony contracts. The lack of scrutiny in public life is down to the fact that we as citizens did not demand the best for ourselves, demand the best for our politicians, the way our money is spent, and only we can reverse this. This is where Double Down comes in. This is where Byline Times comes in. These people only thrive in darkness. It is shameful when they are shamed. I can tell you how ashamed they are because I get the legal letters trying to stop us trying to write this stuff. And we have to stand up against that. And gradually, a bit like the effluent flowing into our rivers and seas, this pollution of the public domain of our political life begins to stink. People can't help noticing when they swim in the seas or kayak in a river, they're getting ill. They see the sewage floating down their streams, accumulating on the beaches. This will happen with this. This is happening with this. We mustn't be distracted. Follow these trails. 2 years of this carousel of cash, this cutting of public services, this holding back of public wages with our money. We have a right to demand how that money is spent. You must pass on this message, even if you have a Daily Mail conservative supporting neighbour. Tell them what's happening to their money, as you might tell them what's happening in their rivers and seas. We live together in this world, in this country, and things will get very bad very quickly if we don't do something to stop it. So the key way to solve this pollution of our public realm is to filter it out, show what's happening, and the only way that can really cleanse the body politics is good media. And what's good media? Double Down News. Subscribe now on Patreon.